America's favorite cage-fighting plumber, Markwayne Mullin, your United States Secretary of Homeland Security, the man who oversees border security, disaster response, counter-terrorism, actual protection of this country. And this week, he stood at a podium during an official World Cup security briefing and told reporters that he did a happy dance. And why did he do a happy dance? Not because of a terror plot, not because of a disaster he averted, but because Iran's soccer team got eliminated from the World Cup, saying, "I'm just glad they're done and they're not coming back. I was so happy when we were able to pull their visas and said they could leave the US soil. And I might have sung a song or two, maybe even danced a happy dance." That's the man in charge of Homeland Security who has now spent part of an official briefing on World Cup security celebrating that a foreign athletic delegation was leaving the country like he personally won something. And in case you haven't seen my other videos about them, Iran qualified for this World Cup in the middle of this stupid Iranian war of distraction. And look, I know Iran's not a saint of a country. I get it. But the United States, for the soccer team from Iran, has made their trip here a living hell. Their training base had to get relocated from Arizona to Tijuana, Mexico, and players were required to leave the US immediately after every match with no time to even so much as enjoy a meal in the host city. Iran's head coach, he called this team the most oppressed team at the entire tournament. Their captain called the experience a disaster. Yet after their final group match, and it was a heartbreaker, if you're watching the news, they were eliminated by the narrowest possible margin on a marginal offside call against Egypt. The Iranian team left handwritten notes in each of their host cities' locker rooms, thanking them for their hospitalities, writing that, quote, "true hosting is about respect, humanity, and dignity." And say what you will about the country of Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran, those players, they played with dignity. And that team instead was treated like a security threat the entire time. And because of that, your actual Secretary of Homeland Security did an effing happy dance. And this wasn't Markwayne Mullin's only swing at Iran's team. Earlier in the tournament, he accused members of Iran's delegation of trying to sneak in someone with direct ties to the Revolutionary Guard, a claim that has been denied by Iran's Football Federation flatly, calling it false, fabricated, and entirely baseless. There's been zero evidence that surfaced. And you'd think if someone was trying to sneak someone in, you'd hear more about it. It's one thing to be tough on a country that we're at war with, but it is another thing entirely to manufacture a security threat out of soccer players to grab a headline. Iran's Football Federation, for what it's worth, they didn't seem surprised by any of it. They were prepared for this. Their statement has essentially said, "We're used to the mistreatment of and lies from US officials, so no one here is shocked." And remember, this World Cup, it's being co-hosted by the United States alongside Canada and Mexico. A tournament we specifically lobbied to bring here, in part, to show the world a good time and a fair fight and cooperation between our three countries and the rest of the world. Instead, the Secretary of Homeland Security used that security briefing meant to reassure people that the games are being run safely, to settle a personal score with a 23-man soccer roster. By the way, while Mullin was busy gloating about visas, that actual war in Iran, it's been quietly draining your wallet for months. And you've probably felt it, but now there's a number because Moody's Analytics chief economist Mark Zandi put a real number on it. Roughly $1,000 per American household so far in higher gas prices, higher interest rates, higher airfare, and the taxpayer cost of running these expensive military operations. And he called that estimate conservative. Other independent researchers at Brown University and elsewhere, they've run their own numbers and they've landed anywhere from $500 to over $1,300 per household, depending on what's being counted. So you are paying $1,000 conservatively out of your pocket for a conflict that the Secretary of Homeland Security apparently experiences mainly as an opportunity for a victory lap over seemingly pleasant athletes who came here to play a beautiful game. No one is asking you or even him to like Iran's government. No one has to. They're brutal. But there is a huge difference between holding that regime accountable and mocking the guys who play soccer for its national team. And a cabinet secretary like Markwayne Mullin should know which one his job actually calls for. Look, this war, it's not over, even though Donald Trump has said it 58,000 times that it is. The bill isn't final, and the man overseeing Homeland Security wants you to know he's got a good laugh out of a soccer team's heartbreak. Hit the notification icon because the Trump regime, they still have a few more weeks to prove to the world that they have no idea how to actually welcome people to our once great nation on one of the greatest tournaments on the planet.